Okay, it's time to get the Hornet's nest, I guess. Electric cars are not going to save us. Not environmentally, not traffic-wise, not even noise-wise. Electric cars are not a magic bullet. Now, that is going to have three reactions. The first reaction is people like me who are going to go, well, nah, in unison. A lot of people have been saying this for a while. The second reaction is electric car fans going, well, I need to drive everywhere and having my own car powered by electricity is much better than petrol or diesel. The third is that smug guy who somehow thinks that we should keep petrol cars because he likes the sound of a car going vroom vroom. So why are electric cars not going to save us? Well, let's get the obvious parts out of the way. Being electric does not solve a lot of the problems of cars, like traffic, space, and accidents of other street users. They're cars. I can go in a whole video about how cars suck because they just take up so much space for a very small amount of passengers, usually just one person, but I'll leave that for now. Electric cars also exacerbate a lot of problems cars have, namely road damage. One thing cars do a lot is damage the roads. The heavier the car, the more damage the car will do. Now, of course, not everyone drives a lorry, but plenty of people drive SUVs, and even a small car is pretty heavy. Lithium batteries, which electric cars need a lot of, are heavy. Very heavy. In America, Hummer is selling electric versions of their land tanks, and the batteries on that weigh as much as a normal car. To move a car takes a lot of energy because cars are heavy, so to store the energy needed to drive an electric car at decent range, guess what? They're going to need a lot of batteries, meaning more weight and thus more potholes. There's also energy. Now, are electric cars more energy efficient than petrol cars? Yeah, to turn oil into petrol or diesel takes a lot of energy, and that's not mentioning the CO2. Does that mean they are energy efficient? No. It might be easier to make electricity than petrol, but it still takes a lot of energy to move a car. Let me just lay out the energy needs for an e-car. A 5.3 kilometer cycle costs me 131 calories in energy. 100 calories is about 3.5 squares of chocolate. A Toyota Yaris does about 16 kilometers per litre. So 5.3 kilometers at this fuel efficiency is about 331.2 milliliters of fuel, or just over a Coke can full. 1 litre of petrol has about 8,342 calories, so 5.3 kilometers at this fuel efficiency is 331.2 milliliters of fuel, or just over a Coke can full. 1 litre of petrol has about 8,342 calories. The battery on a Nissan Leaf is 40 kilowatt hours, meaning a range of 239 kilometers on a full charge, meaning 5.9 kilometers a kilowatt hour, or in calories 860.421 calories for 5.9 kilometers, or about the same as a Big Mac with medium fries. That's a lot of energy for a 5 kilometer journey compared to, say, a bicycle ride, but that needs to be produced. But even if it's produced by nuclear or renewables, the fact remains that that energy could be used somewhere else. A lot of energy means a lot of batteries needed, and that means a lot of lithium, and I mean a lot of lithium. The materials needed to make your batteries come from mines, and those lithium cobalt mines do a lot of damage to the environment, not to mention a lot of damage to people, with many of those mines using child labour. The amount of lithium in an electric car battery is enough to make batteries for 1,000 e-bikes. Let me just be clear, one Tesla has the battery power of 1,000 e-bikes. That is a lot of e-bikes. Now I can almost sense people complaining about electrics, rubbing their hands together and going, "Great, this means I can look smug driving my big gas guzzler, right?" Well, no. Petrol cars still do a lot of harm to the environment, and for their faults, an EV is still preferable, just perhaps a smaller one. In urban environments, public transport cutting the amount of car journeys is a big go-to. And I know what you're going to say now. Where do they get their power from then? Well, trains, trams and trolley buses don't need to carry their own fuel, meaning that they don't need lithium. In Scotland, a lot of railroads still aren't electrified, including major ones like the Edinburgh to Aberdeen line or the Highland Main line, but that is about to change. The Scottish Government is planning to electrify those lines, but that's probably going to be a bit of a while. However, even in cases where a train, tram or trolley bus isn't viable, an e-bus is still preferable to an e-car because an e-bus carries more people per kilowatt hour than an e-car does, even when only half full. Buses aren't my favourite form of transport, but they beat out cars per person carried in almost every single metric. There's also just building things closer to where people live. Seriously, there's a lot of hype and controversy, usually generated by conspiracy theorists and oil interests, about 15-minute cities, and if you set up a situation where people can walk or cycle to amenities rather than drive, that's a car journey saved. It's much better to walk to your local Tesco with a granny trolley than to drive there for the exact same thing. And if you really need to do a big shop or get something you can't take home yourself without a car, well, delivery vans save a lot of journeys too, and if you're buying a big shop, chances are you will qualify for delivery at most supermarkets. There's also bikes, both acoustic and electric, which don't just take up less road space than cars or save energy, but are also cheap, convenient, don't damage the roads, and yes, can even do things like carry cargo with a couple of modifications. They can be also accommodated with a lot less infrastructure. E-bikes are already massively popular, and encouraging them and accommodating them would allow for a lot less car journeys. A lot of journeys usually done by car could already be done by bike, so accommodating them with the rise of the e-bike and e-scooter could cut the need for car journeys even more. I'll make a video about cycling in Edinburgh in the future. But yes, some people have to drive, and for them, e-cars are preferable. But do you need an e-car for every journey? Well, no. Just because a plumber needs an e-van does not mean that you need an e-car to take your kids to school, as long as alternatives are available, viable, and accommodated for. So no, electric cars are not going to save us. There is a much better alternative open to us.